Imagine waking up one morning to hear this message from your town's mayor. From today forward, dying is strictly prohibited within the municipal limits. No, this isn't the start of a sci-fi movie. This actually happened in a real Spanish town called Lanjarón, nestled in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains. The town passed an ordinance that made it illegal to die. Yes, illegal. This decree, as outrageous as it sounds, wasn't a prank. It wasn't a joke in poor taste. It was an official policy that drew media attention from across the globe. CNN covered it. European newspapers featured it on the front page. Late-night talk shows couldn't get enough of it. And the residents, well, they were just as baffled, but also quietly proud. After all, how many towns can claim to have waged war against death itself? But behind the absurdity lay a surprisingly serious truth. The town wasn't losing its mind. It was losing space, and fast. Lanjarón Cemetery was completely full. Not nearly full, not getting there, absolutely maxed out. No more space for coffins, no more plots for grieving families. The dead quite literally had nowhere left to go. This wasn't a sudden problem. The town had seen it coming for years. Like many small towns in Spain, Lanjarón has an aging population. Elderly residents make up a significant portion of the community, and the inevitable consequence of time is death. Yet despite repeated efforts to expand the cemetery or build a new one, red tape held everything back. Zoning disputes, environmental restrictions, funding delays, paperwork that dragged on for months or even years with no resolution. Desperate to avoid forcing families to send their deceased loved ones to be buried in other towns, the local government made an unthinkable decision: ban death altogether. It was dramatic, it was illogical, and it was completely brilliant. To the outside world, Lanjarón looked like it had lost its marbles, but those who understood the full story knew this was a calculated, clever protest. The town's mayor at the time used satire as his weapon. He wasn't expecting immortality, he was demanding attention. By declaring death illegal, he created a paradox that the media couldn't ignore. Imagine the headlines: Spanish town outlaws dying residents, asked to comply until further notice. Die later, please. Mayor issues warning to ailing citizens. It worked. Almost overnight, the story of this tiny mountain town hit news feeds around the world. Suddenly, everyone was asking, why would a town ban death? That question, ironically, brought attention to a very real problem, one that had been overlooked for years. Bureaucrats who once ignored the town's pleas were now facing public pressure to find a solution. What started as satire had become a masterclass in political strategy. There's a poetic irony to all this. You see, Lanjarón is famous for something very few towns can claim: extraordinary longevity. The town's location in the Alpujarras region of southern Spain grants it crisp air, abundant sunshine, and pure, mineral-rich mountain water. These natural elements, combined with a relaxed lifestyle and a diet full of fresh produce and olive oil, have led to some astonishing results: a population of centenarians. People in Lanjarón don't just live long, they live well. It's one of the few places in Europe where reaching 100 years of age is considered impressive, but not exactly rare. The town has leaned into this reputation. There's an annual longevity festival celebrating residents who hit major age milestones. There are wellness spas and water therapy retreats. Even bottles of Lanjarón mineral water are sold across Spain, marketed as the water of long life. So when the mayor jokingly told residents not to die, many responded with a wink. We weren't planning on it anyway. Lanjarón's unusual law sparked something: unexpected laughter, yes, but also unity. In a world where death is usually treated with fear or silence, the town dared to speak about it out loud and with humor. Cafes created specialty drinks inspired by the decree, like the No Death Espresso. Shops sold t-shirts with slogans like "Immortal since 2007. Children joked that if grandma felt sick, she should cross town lines just in case. But beyond the fun, something deeper was happening. The death ban became a shared story, a legend that connected residents in a new way. It turned grief and bureaucracy into community pride. Even elderly citizens, the ones most affected by the cemetery shortage, embraced the narrative with a sort of mischievous grace. "I've lived here my whole life," one woman in her 80s told a reporter. "I'm not leaving now, dead or alive." The decree also reopened important cultural conversations about burial traditions. In Lanjarón, being buried in the local cemetery isn't just a ritual. It's a symbol of belonging, of roots, of a final home. The idea of being laid to rest outside the town wasn't just inconvenient, it felt like a form of exile. What makes this story even more fascinating is that Lanjarón is not alone. Around the world, several towns have tried banning death to protest similar problems, usually cemetery overcrowding or neglected infrastructure. In Le France, the mayor declared in 2000 that death was forbidden, after a legal bloc stopped the expansion of the cemetery. In Sicilia, Italy, the mayor issued a decree in 2015 that anyone who didn't attend regular health checkups would be in violation of the death ban. The goal? Encourage public health and preserve a dwindling population. Even in Brazil, the town of Biritiba Mirim made international headlines when its mayor proposed a ban on dying until they could build a new cemetery. He went so far as to blame families whose relatives died without prior medical attention. In all these cases, the pattern is clear: absurdity becomes a spotlight. point. These towns aren't trying to cheat death, they're using humor to expose serious policy failures. Ultimately, Lanjarón's no-death decree was never about cheating biology. It was about forcing action using laughter to slice through apathy, and it worked. The cemetery issue eventually addressed. Plans for expansion were approved. The dead of Lanjarón could rest in peace within their town, among their own. But more than that, Lanjarón taught the world something profound, that even in the face of mortality, humor has power, that when bureaucracy stalls, creativity speaks louder, that in a world full of red tape, sometimes the most effective protest is the one that makes people smile. And so, the legend of the town that outlawed death lives on. Tourists still visit, curious to see where the impossible was made law. Locals still tell the tale, half in jest, half in pride. Because in Lanjarón, death may still come, but at least now, it has to ask permission.